Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach.
Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It's Laura and Shelby today talking about something we love to talk about, and we're going to talk all about money. The name of this episode is 2025 Money Thoughts because, shocker, your thoughts about money change as you grow. And this is just a time of the year that you're hearing this, if you're tuning into this, where money, it's likely right through the holidays. Money might be something on your consciousness. And as a new business owner, we have to have this in line for you. It's such a big, huge barrier for so many of you. And so we're going to take some of our tried and true things we talk about all the time ad nauseum, and then we're going to add some new stuff today so that when you get off this podcast, you're going to be pumped. You're going to have a plan, and you're going to have more insight and probably awesome opportunities to have conversations with your significant other, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this is one of the, I would say 100% of of all of our clients have navigated a mindset upgrade around money. No one is exempt. And if you are going from like paid employee paycheck every 2 weeks, I clock in, I clock out, I know where it's coming from. This is even just one facet, but we're going from that mindset to small business ownership mindset, to coach mindset, to abundance mindset, to those are like two totally different paradigms that they have different rules to play by. And it's just necessary. It's just 100% necessary. And that's not even taking into account like your family of origin and how your dad talked about money growing up. And if you grew up poor, or if you grew up wealthy, or any of that also big extra stuff over here. But we're recording this in October, and now I don't know what it is about this time of year, but it's just like a natural thing where all my clients start talking about abundance, money mindset. Maybe it's with the new year, like around the corner, we start thinking about potential. I'm not really sure what it is, but glad we get to sink into it today because it is a topic on every single call I've had this week.
Yeah, same. And it's a topic on my personal coaching calls. It's a topic we're going to be discussing with our mentor this week. It is like, I love talking about money. So it is a really natural topic for us to play with today. And we're going to take you through like some actionable stuff. We're going to reiterate some of the stuff you might already know, but maybe you can hear it for the third time or the fourth time, and it gets in just a millimeter deeper into your soul and into your skin and into your cells, and unlocks some more spaciousness for you around what's possible. What I love about talking about money with entrepreneurs is once you become a paid client or a paid coach, you've essentially figured out how to create something out of nothing. And once you've created something out of nothing, meaning that you have income that you did not clock in for, it is very fun. It is very, 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 very fun. And it inevitably will be a day that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And then there's a predictable wave of limiting beliefs. Are you a one-trick pony? Was that did you make is that a mistake? Did you coerce them? Like, it's so crazy, the thoughts, because we're just not used to receiving money in that way. It's like a really new way of receiving the flow of money to us.
Yeah. Oh, I know that there are going to be questions about what you just said. A new way of receiving money. I think that this is what I see with a lot of nurses, right? We are conditioned to one, clock in, clock out. I mean, have you ever heard a nurse that is negotiated for their salary ever? We accept the status quo.
Yes.
We accept that this is how it is. I mean, I was a new nurse in Texas, which is one of the lower paid states for bedside nurses. And I think my first job, I was making like 22 something, like fresh out of school. And I mean, there's like predictable raises, but to be honest, they're kind of like bullshit. Of like, what's 22 versus $23 an hour, really? Like,
Right.
not really changing my life in any meaningful way. Um, and it never dawned on me to like entertain any other way. That's just how it was. You put in hours at work, you put
Yeah.
in really hard work, really labor intensive work to take care of other humans, and that was just it. Like it's a
Yeah.
pretty big jump for where we're going next. And I see this a lot too in our clients of this relationship with money where they've had to work really, really hard for it
Right.
over the years, maybe even before becoming a nurse, or if they struggled financially in their 20s. There's a lot of story of like, I have to work so hard for money. And this new way of where we can charge, or where we do charge $1,500 for 9 to 12 hours of work, that's weird. That's super weird.
Yeah.
Where
You
is my
start
worth
doing
and my value coming
calculations.
from? Did I even earn it at
Yes.
all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a trip because I remember doing the math. I'm like, that's this much per hour. That's ridiculous. But as entrepreneurs, we don't, it's not all profit. We have overhead, we have things, we have your training, you've been a nurse. Like there's lots of money you had to invest to even get to the point to be able to offer the service. And that is all factored in. And I also want to say something esoteric. A percentage of you are going to get this, feel this, it's going to resonate. A percentage of you are going to roll your eyes and you might even tune out of the podcast. But I encourage you not to, because it's just a brief moment that I want to address. Is that your money mindset, your being, your worldview around money exists at a specific frequency today, right now? I could probably assign a number to it. There are different rules for different levels. So if
Mhm.
you are in $100,000 worth of debt, you have two W-2 parents in the same home. There are different rules and different ways that are more effective about talking about money to improve your situation at that level than if I'm talking to somebody who's making $500,000 a year.
Right.
So there's different levels. We're going to talk some broad spectrum things, but basically just take what resonates for you and run with it. And anything that's too ooey gooey, weird, woo woo, whatever, let it be. Come back to it in a year. It might make sense to you then. I think this is a beautiful way of disclaiming that there's 1,000 ways to improve your money mindset. They're all right as long as it works for you.
Mhm.
Period. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. That's well said. It's like how the cones in our eyes can only see a certain spectrum of colors, you know?
Yes.
Like there's like a literal frequency that we can tap into, and I'm sure that there's all of these other colors that exist in the world that we can't even see just because we don't have the right filter on our
Yes.
eyes essentially. And we promise we won't make it like too weird, but we live in the land of weird when it comes to money most of the time to
We've
where
had to. We
oh
have to
yeah,
live in this land to do what we've done. I mean, you have
absolutely.
to.
And we surround
Um,
ourselves with people who think
yeah.
similarly, so we are positively reinforced that this works.
Like the madness is like encouraged. Well, I'll say one last thing and then we'll jump into the content. But I was on a money mind, an energy working call last night with a coach that I hired for 3 sessions. And yesterday, Evan found $80,000 in a retirement account that we didn't know we had.
LOL.
LOL, right? And I got a Windows quote because the farm needs new windows desperately. I was hoping to get them installed before winter. But I was quoted like 60 or $70,000 because we have 26 windows. They're big
Yeah.
windows. And Home Depot came out. Something happened. He mentioned some weird sale. I was like, well, let's look at what selections you have in your car. The one that I liked happened to be the one on sale. And guess what the price was to replace all the windows?
$80,000. Oh my God.
$22,222. I was just done, sold, sign me up. I'll pay my deposit. Like that.
Yeah.
That's 22222, and it's like 1/4 of what I thought what the
Yeah.
universe would have me pay for what I want. He's like, yeah, it's weird. This is never on sale, and I'm like, it's not weird. It's
Yeah.
not weird.
Happens all
Um,
the time. Happens
happens
all the
all the
time.
time. And so, yes, we're going to talk to you about really practical actionable things, but we're also going to talk about the energy, the consciousness, your subconscious beliefs, what blocks money, what allows money to flow to you, and all the strange ways it'll show up once you start doing this work that have nothing to do with how much hard work you do in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like unkinking the hose, and you're like, oh, look at that! I found $80,000 yesterday. That's weird.
What a convenient surprise.
It's a good surprise, and they're not all good, but it's nice
Yeah.
to share when the good ones show up.
Hell
And
yeah. For
she
sure.
made a big deal about it because I was just like glossing over. She's like, Laura, can we you just found 80,000 and saved 60 yesterday or today. Could you acknowledge that 140K swing that you just experienced? And I'm like, you're not wrong. That was
Yeah.
a right, if all things being equal. So it works, and we're so excited to dive in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, where do you want to start? Do we want to start more mindset sort of thing, or do we want
Yeah.
to yeah, so what would you say your biggest lesson around money mindset has been? I know you just like told a really epic story.
Yeah.
What do you think maybe facilitated that?
Um, I mean, I started working on money mindset 6 years ago. So when I started working on money mindset, I was $100,000 in debt. So I had a negative self-worth in my late 30s. And now I have over 3 million net worth. So that's huge, right? Like I just want to use that as an actual statistic. And that
Mhm.
did not all come from selling coaching. It came from a lot of different decisions and risks and ideas and opportunities that I felt confident enough to step into, which allowed money to flow to me in ways that I could have never imagined. So I feel like my money mindset allows you to take risks because you have more inherent trust in God and the universe to provide for you. And that's the most important thing, is like, it's a preference. I would also be totally okay if I lost everything and had to start over. And so I like really, really get down with my desire and my preference, and not an addiction or part of my identity or hanging on too tight, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the we have had seasons. They have been brief, but we have had
Yeah.
seasons where we get caught up, like if you look at like a business, revenue tracker, to where you have this desire for it to go like up and up and up, like constantly
Mm-hmm.
progressing linearly. And we've gotten hung up a couple times of like when things dip or they rock and they roll, and we like freak out that something's like gone wrong. But I heard a similar thing probably on a podcast or on Instagram about someone extremely wealthy who had the same perspective of like someone came over to his house and he's like, wow, man, this house is incredible. Look at the pool. Look at the imported Italian limestone or whatever the hell they had in the house. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, it is really wonderful. And I would be totally fine if it all burned tomorrow. I'd figure it out.
Yeah.
And like and I know that that might sound a little insane, but your belief that you can figure it out is like that's all that we need.
Yeah.
That's all that's required.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um,
What about you?
yeah, I was
Your
thinking of
story.
kind of like how I was brought up talking about money and listening to money. My mom and dad had very polar opposite relationships with money. And my dad was like the good time, fun time, like, I'll make more
Yeah.
money
Same.
tomorrow. Like, it's fine. Let's go hard. And my mom was the opposite. And in some ways they really like, opposite attract. They balance each other out. They're financially well off as of today. And but I can see how both of those situations were stressful. And I tend to gravitate towards my dad's personality and tendencies. So in my 20s, I was very like, YOLO, I'm a nurse, I'll be employed forever. Like, let's go to Mexico, that kind of attitude. And that was a really shitty dynamic with money for me, because I could
Mm,
go have a good time and like check out. And I was just telling this to some of my mentees yesterday. I was like, but if we personify money as a person that we are in a relationship with,
yeah.
and I had to like look that person in the eyes and like do a check-in on our friendship or our relationship or our partnership, I was the shitty friend in that situation. Like I spent
Right.
without checking. I got mad when there wasn't enough. I felt unsupported when there wasn't enough, when I wasn't pulling any of the weight. So I think initially of like writing a letter to money and saying like, I'm sorry. Like I'm the one who
Yes.
effed up here pretty hard, and I have like I want to fall on the sword. And also I know that in order to have the life that I want, we have to partner and work together differently. And this is how I would prefer for it to look. This is how I prefer for it to feel. Like, and for a long time, that meant checking my bank account like 3 times a week when I barely would check it 3 times a year before.
Yeah.
And that meant like getting out of credit card debt and stop YOLOing so hard when I didn't have it. So like this sense of delayed gratification for me was something that I had to learn how to do. And now I could go to Mexico anytime I wanted, but there was a short period of time where I had to like say no to things that I wanted to have the financial future that I wanted, to have a better
Yes.
relationship with money. Um, the desire didn't go anywhere. The desire to make better money than I did as a nurse didn't go anywhere. I just approached it differently.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I went bankrupt at 22 and then couldn't get a bank account until I was very old. I don't know how old, but it felt like forever, probably
Yeah,
2 or 3 years. I don't know like what the statute of
that's
limitations are when
wild.
you're a shitty person. Um, but no one trusted me, and there was reason for that. Car repo, bankrupt. So I had a complete crash and burn to like below negative because you gotta love those school loans. They just follow you everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was digging myself out of a hole my entire life with really no shot at ever really poking my head above it. And so then you dissociate, like there's all these things that you
Hmm.
do. And essentially it's like you never look money in the eye and you
Yeah.
certainly never partner with it. And I find my relationship with money now to be almost like a spiritual one. It's like, what would you have me do? Like, if you give me this, what would you have me do with it? And I just trust like whatever I'm guided to do with it is correct. And so then it's not about like me amassing more than, it's me working with something that's infinite. And from that, if I can stay in that place, like I never really get tense or worried. But you and I this year have had some moments where it's like, I don't know, this doesn't look good. Wait, what's happening?
Yeah, on
And
paper,
I
this looks bad. On paper, this is I don't know how we spin it, you know?
think it looked bad on paper. I just don't think you and I know what paper should look like, to be honest. Like, I don't even know if it looked bad, but it
Yeah.
felt bad. And
Yeah.
when I feel bad like that, I think I start neglecting my relationship with money. It's
Yeah,
like,
fair. Fair.
right. So there's still work to be done, is what I'm saying. But there's a feeling that you have because it's not a dollar amount won't make you feel safe. You think it
No.
will, it won't. There's
No.
no dollar amount that will make you feel safe. There's a dollar amount that will probably make you feel safer than you feel right now. But ultimately, if you want to feel freedom and safety, that is all between your ears. It has
Hmm.
nothing to do with what's on paper. And we're constantly reminded of that shortfall that we have.
Totally. Totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. Yeah, there have been moments where I've looked at our bank account and I'm like, I genuinely cannot believe that like I have access to this type of resource. Like it was never within the realm of my like
Yeah.
it felt like it would always be a dream, and like whenever you can see it, it almost feels like monopoly money. Sometimes it's hard for it to feel
Yeah.
real. And then but it's so brief, that moment of, oh wow, because then your brain immediately goes to like, well, we got to pay our team, we got to pay the Zoom subscriptions, like it's
Yeah.
easy
It's
for it to
going
like,
somewhere.
yeah,
It's going.
it already had a job, right? It's not
Yeah.
like it's not YOLO Mexico money over there
No.
just hanging out. We are absolutely at the point to where like it costs money to make money in the type
Yeah.
of business that we have. That's not the case for most coaches, but um it yeah, it's just interesting noticing that relationship. And I remember this year in particular, whenever we were like, this doesn't feel good, my old habits came up so hard where I'm like, well, if there's money there, then I can't like worry about it anymore. Like I just, like it was almost like a freeze state for a few weeks of like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, like are we gonna be one of those stories that I've heard 100 times over about entrepreneurs that lose everything? Like just it gets so loud so fast. And so maybe I'm sharing this to also reassure you guys to where if you like overcome your first big hurdle with money and things start flowing a little easier and you have a little bit more trust in the plan and we're making it, it's coming, it's going, all the things. If you hit another speed bump, that doesn't mean anything's gone wrong.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
a part of the process here. But I think this leads us into our next point of like being able to take action with faith, because what was it? Probably February of this year, we like took action on an LCA, like a huge project, and we didn't know. Like we were going to have to invest a lot of time, money, energy into that to know if it was going to work. And it was like at the weirdest time in our business
Yeah.
to do something new like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, taking action with faith. So I put risk tolerance too in that category, because when you've always lived a certain way with money and it's always come in a really predictable way at a really predictable cadence from a really predictable source that maybe your whole family approves of, i.e., being a nurse, there's a feeling of taking a risk by just taking a certification.
Yeah.
That feels like a big risk. Like, I don't know if I should spend, our course is $2,999. I don't know if I should spend $3,000 on a 7-month course that's going to probably make every part of my life better and most likely my professional life better. That seems like a crazy risk. Like, that's so strange, right? Because, but that's not that strange. That's just the way that we look at things. It's, well, I'll just keep working really hard. Maybe I can work some third weekend. Maybe I can work some overtime. Maybe we won't take a vacation this year. Maybe. I just got to keep putting it away for the kids, the kids, the kids. And it's like, you lose your ability to have any faith, to take any action, and to tolerate any sense of risk. So that's like level one, is like a beginning to just tolerate a little bit of risk risk. And that can be with investments. It can be with your business venture. It can be with giving when you don't feel like you have anything to give. I highly recommend doing that. If you're listening and you're like, Laura, I have like $80 in my bank account, I don't know what's going to happen, I encourage you to take $5 and give it away as soon as possible. It will make you feel better, because there's an element of faith. Like, you don't do that without a tiny bit of faith. And that's the first step in taking action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I was talking to some of our master's clients earlier this week, and one of our clients was sharing with me. She's like, I just have this desire for this business that is predictable and sustainable and reliable. And I just started like shaking my head of like, that's unrealistic for the type of profession that you have chosen to step into. The nature of what we do, you might make, $500,000 in January and nothing for the rest of the year. Like that could be how it
Right.
plays out, right? Could be how it plays out. And your job here is to not like twist and squeeze and choke your business so hard or worry about it so much that we're just always like in this external searching for this external source of validation, of stability, of predictability. That's an inside job here. Like your internal risk tolerance is so much more important than having consistent months in your business, because
Yes.
it taps into of like, okay, maybe September wasn't like the most shiniest month ever, but like there's potential still on the horizon, and that's like what's going to keep you
That's
going
what,
here.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm surrounded by people who are in my personal life that really struggle to take risks. And I'm very candid with them. They're my closest circle of friends. I'm very candid about what it has taken to become successful, the kind of money that Laura and I invest in our business. And they just like get like cross-eyed looking at me, like they
Yeah.
can't wrap their head around it. So, this isn't for you. If you have $80 in your bank account, don't go invest in the $80,000 mentor, but take the $5 and pay for somebody's like Starbucks order behind you,
Yeah.
or leave it in the formula can at Walmart or whatever the thing may
Yes.
be. Like there's appropriate action for where you're at.
Wherever you are.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And it happens so much fast. Like, progress is made. Just think about anything you've ever done in your entire life. Any skill you ever built, any dream you've ever had, anything that you've made any progress in, it didn't take long. you were able to graduate from high school, and some of you within 4 years were working at an awesome job. It took you 48 months to have a skill.
Yeah.
It's like, so if you worked on money a little bit every week for 2 years, your entire everything would look different. Like, and that's not just for some people, for lucky people, for special people. It's for all people who think of this as something that they just incorporate into their daily life. Most
Hmm.
people don't like to talk about money. Most families don't talk about money. Most couples don't talk about money. And so what I love about our mentorship and our programs is we talk about money all the time, and you have a safe community to really talk about your innermost thoughts and beliefs around money, which is part of the healing process. So you get around a community who isn't afraid. Like, there's nothing you can say that would turn them off. They're not going to think you're trying to show off. They're not going to think that you're stingy. They're not going to think that you're greedy. They're not going to think XYZ. And that's like the beginning stages.
Yeah.
And then multiply that over a 10-year time horizon. I mean, I'm only at 6 years. So I laugh because I think I'll listen back on this podcast episode, Shelby, when I'm like 50 something, be like, oh, so cute. Oh, so cute. No idea. Like, what are you talking about? Because we'll
Yeah.
probably have a totally different understanding of it
Yeah.
by then.
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to
Same.
in 4 years and be like, that you missed it there, but you were trying real hard.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about debunking some limiting beliefs about money. So, the number one place to look for this is close your eyes. Think about your parents, think about growing up, think about the first things you ever heard about money. And that is going to be our starting point. So for me, it was, we can't buy that. It's too expensive. Let's go over here to the clearance rack. I think that's probably my first, is like being at
Mhm.
a store with my mom. And it's like me wanting something and her pointing me to the stuff that's on sale, that's on clearance. And I love clearance. So don't get me wrong. No shade on clearance. I love clearance. I don't love that would be the only place I could ever purchase anything from and feel like I was a good person. And that was kind of
Mhm.
like what I sensed from my mom. It's like, good people, they buy what they can, they buy what's a good value, not what they want. We don't buy what we want, Laura. Wants are silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so small, right? Like that comment is so small. It's not like your
Yeah.
mom sat you down and was like, "Listen, Laura, here are the rules about money," right? We just
Yeah.
pick up on these things when we're
Yeah.
kids. We're like a sponge. Yeah, that had me thinking of like, what is the first? It was always just my dad wanting to do something fun and my mom like shooting him a look of like, can we really afford that? Where are we going to get the money for that? Are you going to go where like Sonic, the fast food restaurant? She would always joke with my dad. She's like, "Are you going to go buy roller skates and go work at Sonic for tips to pay for that?" Like um
Yeah.
it was like this kind of joking, but more of like maybe a tactful way to say no in front of your kids of like, dude, who the fuck are you kidding right now? We can't
Yeah.
do that. Um, and
Is your mom a saver or is she
mhm.
anxious?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I don't think that she's always been that way, but um, yeah, she grew up with very, very limited financial
Yeah.
resources. And so to where my dad grew up with like a lot of financial resources. And
Gotcha.
then
Yeah.
they also got married when they were 19, so like
Right.
babies figuring it out together. But and it's interesting also like just I have pretty candid conversations with my parents about money these days, which is a luxury I know that a lot of people don't necessarily have, but um like even now my mom will make comments to me of like, we better be nice to Shelby because she's going to be the one putting us in the fancy home, and we all know that she makes enough money now to be able to do it. And I'm like, ooh, this feels like a little
Passive aggressive.
tense. Like
Yeah.
like I don't okay. So it's interesting, and our both Rob and I's parents, honestly, we coach a lot of people whose families are not supportive. So I'm very familiar with what that
Right.
looks like. And so on the spectrum, like my both sets of parents rank really high. Um, but we get shit over the weirdest stuff of like one time we flew first class and I heard about it for a month of like, oh, you think you're so fancy? You got to sit in the front of the plane and like kind of like made fun of. And I was like, this is it always catches me off guard of like whenever
Yeah, when you bump up
feedback
against
about
it.
that comes my way. Yeah. And so I've noticed that it makes me want to retreat. It makes me want to not share. It makes me want to like
Same.
stuck in, but that comes at a cost to me that I'm not willing to give, like
Right.
sorry if it makes everybody else uncomfortable. I wanted to fly first class and we did, and guess what? It was fucking awesome. Ada loved it. She tinkered in all the real dishes in first class, made a mess everywhere, and it was great. Like it was
Yeah.
um I'm not immune to it still, though. Getting better, but not immune.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also like a really, really excellent, we send this book out to all of our mentees, the How to Solve Your Money Problems, How to Solve All Your Money Problems Forever by Victor Bach is like the OG money manifestation, reprogramming,
Yeah.
unpacking, limiting beliefs, complete textbook on if you want a resource to get started here.
Right.
Excellent one.
Yes. Yeah. So basically you find out where your limiting beliefs about money are because these are blocks. These are beliefs and structures in your worldview and your beliefs that will block money coming to you. Just the way that gravity works. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's like it's like a natural law of the way that money works. It's not made up, it's not woo-woo, it's not arbitrary. It just is, and you can accept the reality of gravity and work with it, or you can fall down over and over and over again. And so I think when you start to look at it that way, it's like, what is the natural laws and how can I work with them? And that's that like beautiful relationship we have with money. And so the first part is removing blocks and limiting beliefs. And this comes in layers like an onion. And you will, if you start a business, if you start a nurse coaching practice, you will get to see them every week, all the time, every proposal, every
Yeah.
stumble. It won't let up until it's dealt with. And that's part of why I love what we do is that regardless of what people decide to do long term, they all get money mindset upgrades if by
Mm-hmm.
spending time with us, just by being in our presence. So
Totally.
um next thing you want to talk about is like the mastermind principle, which is essentially find others, find others that you can talk to openly
Yeah.
without judgment, that you feel safe enough, that maybe with a group of people that are more expanded than you. It's so good. It's so important. And that can be us, it can be peers, it can be accountability partners. But it's like hopefully, it can be your romantic partner at some point, but just people that you can talk about this with regularly is so helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think about a few of the masterminds that we've been to over the past two
Yeah.
years, and there is nothing, I think almost genuinely nothing that I could say in that quality of a room that would like shock anyone, or any
No.
dream that's like too big or too audacious, or any monthly. If I wanted to make $1 million a month, everyone would just kind of like nod in agreement, and that is I don't know what it's healing, but it's super helpful. Like it is so
Yes.
helpful to be not looked at like you're crazy every once in a while. Because I think if I feel this way quite a bit, to where if you're like the big dreamer in your circle, everyone's like, ugh, there she goes
There
again.
she goes again.
There
I
she
am that. I'm
goes.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. And so just to be in a room like full of people who are on the same committed to a similar path is game
Yeah.
changing. Yeah.
It's like saying something like my most recent goal is I would love consistent 100K months for my family, for our income, not our business revenue, not just like after everything's said and done, that's what we have to play with. We'll pay taxes with a part of that.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of our baseline. And it's so cool to have somebody say, yeah, that's totally like, how long do you think it'll take you to do that? It probably won't take long. I mean, do you already know how it's going to happen? Just
Hmm.
as like it's like you saying, hey, Laura, I want to make tacos for dinner. I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, what shells are you going to use? And like, how long do you think it's going to make? How long do you think it's going to take to make it? Not, are you sure? Like, that's pretty greedy eating tacos, you know?
You crazy taco fiend.
See,
Yeah.
taco, greedy taco eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's something so healing with that. It's calibrating, man. It
Yeah.
calibrates me. Yeah.
Hmm.
At the time of this podcast going live, I will have been in Vegas at a Hormozy event. And I'm excited about that. Spend a few days with just to get calibrated. Not sure exactly what I'm going to get, but I think anytime you can invest a little bit of your money just to be in the room with other people doing bigger shit than you, it's a good investment. It just
Yeah.
is. Big,
Go be the
big
small
stretch.
fish. Go be
Uh-huh.
the small
Go be
fish.
the small fish.
For sure. For sure. Oh man, this is a marathon episode. I'm
Sorry,
appreciative you
guys.
guys are hanging in there. We have a lot to say, apparently.
We'll
So
get we'll
okay,
get to it. We'll
we'll
get
get
to
to
it,
it.
Shelby.
Practical steps for new entrepreneurs. I've talked about Ramit Sethi before on this podcast. He has his own podcast of like, I will teach you to be rich, has a
Huh?
book that accompanies it. Laura and I were talking about him before. I agree with like 70% of
Yeah,
what
I'm
he
like a
puts out there.
70.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think that if anything, go listen to him coach people around money. It's so
Yes.
helpful. It's so helpful just to get some context on how to do that. But some of his beliefs and principles, I'm like, meh, that's not super for me. And you learn to
Yeah.
do that over time of not everyone has to be your 100% guru, but he does have a lot of good information. And he talks about this concept of money dials, which is I really love this framework because
Yeah.
as new entrepreneurs, you're like hearing me and Laura talk about $100,000 months, and you're like, okay, great for you.
Yeah.
Where the
Gross.
hell do I
Yeah.
start here?
Right.
How do we tap into an abundance mindset if I have $500 in the bank
Yeah.
in groceries and gas still to buy, this week? And do you want to explain this concept of money dial,
Yeah.
please?
Right. Yeah, so this is super helpful. No matter what stage you start at, when I started this journey, like I said, when I started my money journey, I had a lot of debt, and I had married Evan, and we were kind of we were working on it together, but he was working a lot of overtime. I gave up my $100,000 year jobby job to start a business, so we were deep in the weeds here, and I also knew we couldn't be savers and stingy and rigid on everything. We had to choose like some place to splurge. And
Yeah.
so if you're listening to this, likely there's one place in your life you can choose to like live your rich life, to live in a way or to spend in a way that feels really good. I'm going to give you some examples here. And they usually fit into 4 categories, but essentially you dial down the 3 other categories to free up a little bit of cash. And then you dial it up in 1 category so that you're regularly experiencing buying what you want, not buying what is practical or not spending in a way that's practical. If your whole spending portfolio is all practical, if you drive across town to save 50 cents on a gallon on gas, like that's not good,
Yeah.
because you are right. Like you're telling the universe, like I'm going to work. So I don't trust you at all. In fact, I don't trust you so much that I am going to make myself miserable holding on to the meek amount that I have. And so we want to loosen you up a little bit. So 4 categories, I'll explain them. And then Shelby and I will kind of share different ways you can work with them. But the first is convenience. So people who value convenience, you guys are willing to spend money to save time or make life easier. And some of these examples are hiring a house cleaner, ordering food delivery to your house,
Hmm.
and automating tasks or getting your groceries delivered for a fee. The convenience, you want to splurge and make your life more convenient. Second, which I think Shelby is, I would say,
Yeah.
you're for 2 or 4, but the second
Yeah.
is experiences. This is you guys who want to prioritize experiences, create memorable moments through travel, dining, or special activities. Third, health and fitness. I think this is where I splurged because I had been sick. So it's like investing in health and fitness is the core area where we're willing to spend extra. Buying a sauna, a water machine, supplements, going and seeing a cash pay functional medicine doctor. Like at some point, you have to do that out of necessity. But for some of you, you choose to spend, buy organic groceries and
Yeah.
just pay the little bit of extra for organic groceries. And then the fourth area is luxury. And so this is for you, those of you who love your designer handbag, or that you have a pair of $400 sunglasses that you've had for 10 years and you love quality things. I try to be you guys. I admire you. I have a friend like this. She's super practical, but she always has like a few really nice things.
Mm-hmm.
I lose all my nice things. I break, ruin, or lose. I just gave up. Like I'll Target and Ross for life. Like straight up every time. I mean, maybe every once in a while, like a $70 online purchase for some yoga pants, but I can't. Like I just luxury does not resonate with me yet.
Yeah. Like an inverse problem to where things I'm naturally pulled to
Yeah.
are expensive AF. And I don't like it because it's expensive. It just so happens to be like every
You just
Instagram
sense
ad I
it.
have is $500 plus. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
did I get on? What algorithm am I on now? Uh, but yeah, I would say for sure of like luxurious experiences. Like I
Yeah.
love fine dining. I get to do that like once a year, but it is the best $400 I spend all year. I have the most fun spending that money.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so like it's yeah, being able to like, you know, I think Ramit, his point here is like in order to upgrade and also order to like kind of be smart with your money of like you
Yeah.
don't have to keep up with the Joneses and just buy the fancy whatever because that's what
Yeah.
rich people do. It's asking you to be really intentional about like what are your values? What do you think is important? And invest money there so that you
Yeah.
feel like you are living in alignment versus if you don't care about fancy drip coffee, then stop wasting money on fancy
Right.
drip coffee. You know, like who cares? So I would encourage people to sit with that and see. I would imagine most of our folks are going to be like health and fitness or
Yeah. Hmm.
experience related
I
in
think so
our
too.
crew. Um, and it doesn't have to be to where you go and up your budget by like $1,000. It can be like that you buy
Right.
the liver supplements that you want or
Yeah.
whatever the thing maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, permission, encouragement, to just know whether you're a one, two, three, or four, if you're a convenience, an experiences person, a health and fitness person, or a luxury person. And just and maybe even finding out for your partner too. If you're married or you're
Hmm.
living together or you have any commingled finances, just double checking what's important to each person and then make some calculated decisions on where to save. I feel like I see people, and this is going to make you cringe, Shelby, but wasting money on a vacation when you're physically ill or mentally ill in any way makes no sense to me because it likely doesn't um, fill the bucket in the way that it needs to. And then somebody will hear me say that and be, oh my God, my trips are the only thing that keep me sane, is like my
Yeah.
regular trips. So
Yeah.
like just noticing like whatever yours is correct and then honoring that instead of
Mhm.
comparing how you spend to others. And you'll find some money and you'll have a part of your life that feels very aligned and very rich, regardless of where you currently are today.
Yeah,
And that's so practical to do at this startup phase in your business.
totally. Totally. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Cool. Okay. Well, do we want to swing into money type or do we want to save it?
Yeah. You want
I think
to,
we can.
yeah, we can. I'll let you do kind of money type and just as a way, and you can get all of this from Ramit's podcast, from his book. And he was recently on the podcast Diary of a CEO. And this is October, which is a great episode as well, where he goes over some of this if you want to learn more.
Yeah, cool. So there's four different money types here, and they're, you know, we love a good personality quiz or type or archetype. We love to find a bucket to fit into. But it's of course based in people's behavior and mindset around their money. And this just helps us understand like where our starting point is, how it influences your money decisions, your financial decisions. I again what is it, the love languages? Is that what they're called? Of like very
Yeah.
similarly, it's helpful to like know your partner's love language. It probably
Yeah.
is very helpful to also know your partner's money type as well.
Yes.
And so there's four: the anxious investor, the hustler, the spender, and the saver. And there's, yeah, of course, characteristics we'll cover here really quickly for you. But the anxious investor, so this person constantly worries about their financial future, even when they are doing well. God, I love coaching these types of folks. They tend to overanalyze investments, and fear drives many of their financial
Yeah.
decisions, and often like made up situations that don't exist.
Hmm.
So they often are thinking, what if I lose all my money? Am I doing enough? And they may have difficulty enjoying their wealth or trusting that their investment is actually working. Ramit's podcast coaches people like this all the time that have like millions in the bank but can't spend. Freaking wild.
Yeah. He's got an awesome case study on that
Yeah.
particular one that will change your life if you listen to it.
Yeah, so his advice is focusing on the long-term systems and automation to reduce the anxiety. You have to trust the plan, stick to the plan, and this involves consistent investing to avoid overthinking daily because the market fluctuates. Ramit really advocates for investing in the stock market, like that's his go-to
Hmm.
plan for most people. But if you are logging in, it's like logging in to check which way the wind is blowing that day. Like, does it really?
Yeah. It
It's going to
reminds me
change
of
tomorrow.
people that hyper focus on the scale, or if you're checking your straight balance 4 times a
Yeah,
day, like it's usually not coming from a place of faith, trust, and good money mindset. It's coming from a place of fear.
sure. Totally. Totally. All right. So the hustler, hustlers are always looking for the next opportunity to make money,
I'm a
often
hustler.
through,
I am one of these.
yeah, through side gigs and new business ventures. The amount of texts I get from Laura that's like, hey, I'm going to buy this business. And I'm like, thumbs up. Okay.
It's like ADD and the hustler. It's like that's just what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, they're entrepreneurs and they're driven by the idea of also always increasing their income. Mindset, I can always make more, but they might struggle with sustainable financial systems and may neglect long-term financial planning. So some advice from our guru, Seth Ramit here is making money is important, but it's crucial to think about how saving, investing, and managing what you have for long-term wealth. Hustlers should balance the short-term focus on making money with long-term strategy. I think you actually do this pretty well, to be honest. Like
Now,
you
because
have a yeah,
I've eventually, well, I'm also married to a saver, which we haven't got to yet. So he's
yeah.
rubbed off on me. Thank God.
I think I'm the spender if I had to guess what comes
Yeah.
next. Characteristics of spenders. They enjoy spending money on experiences, material goods, and treating others. Hell yeah, I'm a Taurus. This lines up. They are often focused on enjoying life now rather than saving for the future. You know how much this compounds with almost dying a few years ago? I'm like, we might
Yeah.
die tomorrow. Like this
Yeah.
is
This
this
is
is
yellow on steroids for
hell
sure.
yeah, hell yeah. They think so. My mindset, I just see the way that's written out here is so spot on for me. They think I deserve this and find pleasure in using money to live in the moment, but they may struggle with saving for long-term financial sustainability. So the short and dirty advice here from Ramit is to align your spending habits with also your future goals as well.
Yeah.
So the balancing of both. That's why the money dial stuff really resonates with me of like, okay, how can we be here and have fun today on Friday and also make sure that I still get to have fun every Friday from here until the end of time. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
both important. I think we're both married to savers as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, explains itself. Savers prioritize putting money away, often at the expense of enjoying life right now. They tend to be risk averse and are more focused on financial security than growth or enjoyment. They often are thinking, I need to save as much as possible to be safe. While this is a cautious approach and can provide security, it can prevent you from enjoying life or taking advantage of investment
Yeah.
opportunities. So, savers should learn to invest, but also allow it to grow and not just sit in low interest accounts. He also encourages to spend some of your money now without feeling guilty by planning through,
Hmm.
your conscious spending. And I remember there was that guy we were at that mastermind with to where like was making like, I don't know, 20, 30K a month. And he wouldn't buy himself an Xbox for like
Right.
$300. And everybody essentially in the room was like, bro, what the hell? Go pull out your
He
phone right
bought it.
now and order
Yeah.
the Xbox. So
We just
um
did this at our retreat.
we did do this at our retreat. Yes. We had a master's client who is also a
A
saver.
saver.
And we encouraged her to write out a list of things that she was tolerating and what could she upgrade right now. And it was
Yeah.
things like buying a matching shower curtain and bath mat, and getting a new toothbrush, like little little things.
Yeah.
Um, Wealthy, successful entrepreneurs have the right toothbrush. They have a
Right.
toothbrush that they love to use every
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Right. That was super fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. So really it's just understanding your money type can help you become a little bit more aware of what your baseline trajectory tends to be and then how to work with that. They all have good parts and bad parts. And it's like just identifying what your tendency is and then figuring out how to work within it the best way. And I love, he says he doesn't believe in budgets, he believes in conscious spending plans. A conscious spending plan sounds great. A budget makes me, well, it reminds me of like budget car rental and it reminds me of like a yellow or orange clearance tag. That's what budget visually represents to me. So even just the name conscious spending plan, I love it. I love that
Yeah,
as just a little upgrade there.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, if you guys are curious about like more details on a conscious spending plan, I would encourage you to go to Ramit's website. I know he has a downloadable there for you guys
Nice.
to fill that out. And again, like the conscious spending plan, I think is really applicable to wherever you're at financially, but like of
Yes.
like Ramit Sethi over here, and then we have like Dave Ramsey over here, and then
Yeah.
there's this other woman I follow called the Financial Feminist, and she hates Dave Ramsey. Like she gives different advice. And I've kind of like seen the perks of all, of just like at different
Yeah.
stages of when I was trying to get out of debt. The Dave Ramsey stuff was actually
It
really
was
helpful.
awesome. I loved Dave
Yeah.
Ramsey back then.
And
Totally.
then you kind of outgrow it and it feels a little cagey. And then like the financial feminist stuff, I was like, yeah, this is really resonating for me. Like fact her and Ramit are like on similar
Yeah.
wavelengths. And I really like the way that Ramit coaches, but even, I mean, hanging out with our current mentor, the people that he attracts, like that has been the most calibrating recently too, of like
Yes.
that stuff doesn't exist in podcasts or in books. That's uh an entrance fee to get into
Yeah.
those rooms. Yeah.
Yeah. We hope that this inspires you all. Like, let's make 2025 the year, like the year that you turn your money mindset around, the year that you create something out of nothing, the year that you begin to dream and honor your own desires and wants without any shame and kind of healing all the money wounds.
Mhm.
If you work with us, we will help you with this. We have specific frameworks that we take you through. But if you're not working with us and you want to respond, just send us an email. We love to hear
Yeah.
from you guys. Send us a private message, send us a text, whatever. Just let us know, hey, listen to this. I thought this part was bullshit, but this part was great. Thank you. We love it. We
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm honestly in a place in my life when I get messages like that where they're like, you said this and it was awesome, but I don't agree with this. I'm like, cool. Like I lose no sleep over
Yeah.
it. So please, please do.
Yeah. All of it's
Um,
good.
all of it's good. All of it's good. All right,
Yeah.
homies. We'll see you same
All
time,
right.
same place next
See
week.
you next week, next year. Bye,
Bye.
guys.